Good afternoon, everyone. It's Graham Cofe with another Move TV. And today I'm speaking to Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Graham. How are we?
I'm fine, thank you. And you've just come in through your magic door.
I have indeed.
Which apparently is your kind of secret entrance into your office space in your house. Is that right?
It certainly is, yeah. It's it's secret so the two lads can't find it, because otherwise I won't have any quiet spaces in the household.
Oh, how did you find working from home throughout the whole pandemic bit lockdown? Was that difficult for you?
Well, we had our first child in the April of the pandemic, so April 2020. But yeah, because I was in the banking sector, work didn't stop for us, so we were able to work right the way through. And yeah, it was one of them. It was, I'd much rather be busy than on furlough, put it that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's a change from what you're doing now. When did that change happen?
Yeah, so back in April 2021, I decided to move from the banking world into the world of independent financial planning.
Yeah, and how have you enjoyed that move?
Oh, it's been fab. Yeah, absolutely loved it. So obviously, I was in the banking industry for a decade. So finished university pretty much. I went straight onto a contract, and then 10 years later, I was still on the same contract. But yes, so I was on a 90-day notice period. So it was a case of, well, I needed a new challenge. We were starting to wind the contract down. So it was a case of, I signed a new extension for another 3 months, and then I handed in my notice pretty much straight away, which then allowed me time to, put my approval in with the FCA to get my permissions to be able to give financial advice, because I was already qualified, and then just get the ball rolling, really.
How do you find approaching people about finance? Because it's a touchy subject for a lot of people, and it's also a subject where a lot of people sort of go, "Oh, I don't know if I really should talk to somebody about it." I think it's one of those areas where a lot of people know that they ought to talk to somebody about it, but are then reluctant to talk to somebody about it. Yeah, how do you find that?
It's a very emotive topic, and it's also very personal. And but you hit the nail on the head when you said most people know that they need to do something about it. And ultimately, in my profession, it's we're here to work alongside our clients, to help them achieve their goals. So I view my job as quite, I get quite a lot of fulfillment out of it, because I am in some ways a dream maker. So the first clients I met back in April 2021, they were a couple who just retired, and they had money in different pots. They didn't have a plan, and they wanted to take the grandkids to Disneyland. So it was nice to be able to sit down with them, bring everything together, put a plan in place, and say to them, look, using our cash flow modelling, you've got more than enough. So if you want to take the kids to children and grandchildren to Disneyland, go for it. So from that side of things, it's obviously, it does give you a sense of purpose.
Is there a fallacy with that as well? Because I mean, the example you just gave is perhaps an older couple who have developed a nest egg over a period of time, now want to know how to use it, etc. But is there kind of is that the only people that should be looking to get your kind of advice, or actually these days, should we be starting younger? Should we actually be getting out of university and then going, actually, do you know what? I should go and speak to a financial advisor now.
Absolutely. The earlier you start, the easier it becomes. The issue being that the FCA back in 2012, they brought something in called RDR, which without going through too much, it meant essentially for any pensions and investment advice, you had to charge a fee rather than you could claim a commission like you can do with insurance products. So, and obviously to adhere to the FCA's regulations on knowing your customer, everything around it, then generally as a business, the minimum you've got to charge someone to make it worth your while is about £300. And if it's an individual who wants to start out putting £25 into an investment for the future, £25 a month that is, then it's generally not in the individual's best interest, the amount that you'd have to charge them to make it feasible for yourself as a business owner, and for themselves. So, there is quite a lot of DIY platforms now that have, come on leaps and bounds, especially since the pandemic, where people can go, and if they're just looking to start out, they make it very easy for them to do that.
Is that part of your remit, if you like, when you're doing stuff, for example, for social media, that actually, in a way, you're trying to give some of that advice for free to people that need it earlier on, in order to, kind of build that relationship with them, because they then know that, well, this guy spoke sense to me then.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like my motto, obviously, coming into the first year of any business, was to get visible. So that was, for the first 12 months, my whole motto. So the whole reason why I started posting on social media was partly education for myself, if I'm being honest. It was, researching topics that I found were interesting, and that I thought, well, I found that interesting. I got a lot of value from it. I wish other people would know about it. And then, just started doing posts like that. And then I quickly realized that quite a lot of people were getting a lot of value from it, friends and, family, and, my social network. So it was a case of, well, they probably aren't at the stage where they need any sort of regulated financial advice. But I'm a big believer that it should be taught in school. So if I can use my platform, to spread this information out to other people, then that again, it's gives me a sense of fulfillment. But also, obviously, it increases my visibility. Obviously, you become a subject matter expert in the area, the go-to. So so it's the whole social media presence, as you know yourself, you need in this day and age.
No, absolutely. You were saying literally just before we came on that you're the cook in the house. You really enjoy cooking.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just thinking, as you were saying that, and with what you've just said as well, that perhaps there's a gap in the market there as well, Chris, because there's been a number of quite famous chefs, shall we say, over the last few years, who probably could have done with better financial advice.
Yeah.
So maybe you could combine the two. Maybe you could do sort of like cook with Chris, financial advice and cooking all in one.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I'm trying to think how it would fit in. You had Jamie Oliver as the naked chef, so I suppose anything after that could be, probably palatable, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You find that chef. What's your favourite kind of product or service to work with on a client?
I thought you were going to go down the cuisine line then, but
no.
Probably pensions. I think that's purely because people who don't understand pensions mistrust them. They've heard negative stories in the media, historically, things like that. And it's quite nice when I sit down with business owners, especially, and talk through the benefits of a pension, how it's quite an eye-opening experience for those business owners, because they go, oh, what? I can get money out of my business and save tax and build my own assets. And then they're like that. Wow, I didn't realise. So from that side of things, it's, I'd probably say pensions.
Yeah. Do you think it's kind of fed into us? I know we've had this kind of conversation before, but do you think it's kind of fed into us these days that actually we won't be retiring, we won't, we'll be working until we're in our grave, sort of thing, and therefore, unlike my mum and dad's generation, where there was a state pension, they were seen as always going to have a pension. There was always a retirement plan there. I just think a lot of people, younger people these days, or people even my age, in their 50s, etc., just think this isn't really for me. I'm literally just going to carry on working anyway. So,
I think it's one of those, like anything in life, if you're intentional, and you want to do something about it, then, as long as you've got that foresight to start planning for it, then I think anything is possible. But touching on your point in regard to the state pension, I don't think the state pension will ever go, because the way the state pension's funded, it's, you know, your national insurance contributions that you're paying now during your working life funds the state pension and retirement. So it would be a bit nasty of the government if they were to say, well, you know, all that funding of a state pension for pensioners at this day and age now, where you're in your working life, when you get to retirement age, oh, sorry, you're not going to have that, you know. So I don't think the state pension will ever go. I think the age will increase, obviously, but I think it will always be there. And plus, the introduction of auto-enrollment schemes now for, you know, that employers have got to provide for their employees will help people plan towards a retirement.
Yeah. Do you think that's another thing as well, though, that actually a lot of people perhaps have had, they know that they've got a state pension, they know they've been auto enrolled into a pension at work, etc. They may have actually at some point been self-employed and they've started their own pension, and actually they've got a bit of a pot of money here and a bit of a pot of money there, and they're confused as to how to bring that all together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then, you know, because, you know, previously, you know, the demographic of a worker in the UK was you'd go to employment at the age of 16 or 18, you'd work with the same employer for the next 40, 45, 50 years. Then, you know, you'd get your final salary pension scheme and it'd be, you know, on your way kind of thing. Whereas nowadays people are valuing a lot more, you know, and there's a lot more opportunity as well. That, you know, different employments, you know, people are, you know, going into second professions and things like that and changing the careers. So there's a lot more opportunity for people. But as you mentioned, the more, you know, job changes you do, the more, you know, pension pots that you've built up from previous employers and things like that, that, you know, quite often, you know, especially when you're in your 20s and 30s, you know, people think, oh, well, my pension's not till later on in life anyway. So they don't even track them. So I've sat down with clients before who are like that. Well, I think I had a pension maybe 20 years ago, but I don't really know the details and things like that. Which, you know, going back 20 years, the only way you can really find a pension, the government have got a tool on the state, well, on the government website, sorry, to find a pension. You could ask, you know, colleagues at the time, or, you know, if the employer is still in business, you could ask them. But ultimately, you know, if you haven't got the details and you can't find them anywhere, it might be lost. So they reckon that there is quite a lot of pension funds that are, you know, deemed to be lost because people have lost track of them. But going forward, it's now a requirement for all pension schemes to register on a government register. So going forward, the, you know, individuals will have, you know, will be able to track down their pensions.
That's really interesting, and it's kind of needed as well, because I think the trouble is we've digitalized everything, haven't we? Yeah. And we've got to the point where, you know, as you say, paperwork wise, the amount of paper that you used to get in through your door for everything, your savings account, your pension scheme, everything. It used to be, you know, almost monthly you'd get a statement or whatever. Nowadays, you're lucky if you get something every 3 years or whatever. So it's
exactly, and that's exactly true. But, you know, in my own, you know, business, I've digitalized it, you know. So I've, you know, when I'm onboarding clients and things like that, I've tried to streamline the process, you know, for certain clients who can cope with technology and are comfortable with it. Because as you said, you know, it's the amount of paperwork you did used to get, you know, when you're receiving it monthly. When you think about, you know, the cost, you know, not only just to the environment with all the printing and everything, but also the monetary cost, you know, of postage and everything. Now, it makes sense for it to go digitally, but as you said, you know, if the providers aren't corresponding with the consumers like they should regularly enough, then, you know, that's definitely a downfall.
I did like what you were saying earlier, Chris, about the fact that, you know, doing the social media side of things and actually having to research stuff, that's actually kind of keeping you at the top of your game in a way as well, because it must be a minefield in your sector, an absolute minefield. I mean, I'm just thinking, you know, what with the fact that you've got people with different types of currency now as well, sort of electronic currency, NFTs and all of that as well. And people are investing in all sorts of areas. And also work-wise, we're getting a society now that not only, as you say, will change role every 5 years or whatever, but also potentially may go and work abroad. And, we've got digital nomads happening, and it must be
and obviously, like in our profession, we do have to adhere to 35 hours of CPD, which is continual professional development. That's the bare minimum. Over the last 18 months, I'm aiming towards to get my chartered standing. So right. In the UK, to give financial advice currently, you have to be level 4 qualified, which is diploma level. So obviously I'd already achieved that. But then level 6 is chartered standard, which is pretty much the pinnacle in the profession. And not many financial advisors are chartered. So I'm over halfway on getting my chartered, going through the qualifications. My hurdle has come in that, the second child arrived, business is exploded, to be honest. So I've got quite a lot of traction, so it's, when you don't actually need to be level 6 qualified as it is at the moment, your priorities are in different places. But still, though, it's something that I am going to achieve.
That's a priority for 2023, then.
Well, ideally, I wanted to get it as soon as possible, but to be honest, I can't actually be deemed to be chartered until I've had 5 years worth of industry experience. Although I was previously in the banking sector and I was already level 4 qualified, because I wasn't in an advisor role, I wouldn't have 5 years experience anyway. So I've still got till it'll be 2026, the start of 2026, that I could actually be classed as chartered anyway. And to do it, I've got 3 or 4 more exams to go, depending on which route I go down. So it is something that I am still, driven to get. Just right at this moment in time, just onboarding clients and family life and everything else that comes with it is has pushed it down the priority list.
Well, those things are really important as well.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah. What's having children taught you in the past year?
I think it definitely matures you, should you say, and it definitely talking about priorities, it definitely makes your priorities further and further down the list as well. So but as you said, it's tough, especially the first year or so. When they are so young, you're trying to keep this little thing alive, and it's and I think I don't think men get the same attachment as women do initially, and that's certainly what I found anyway. In that, it's your whole life changes. You can't just do this, you can't just do that. You've got responsibilities, you've got other priorities, and so from that side of things, it's it changes your life. But also, especially when they start giving you something back, you start getting the the smiles back, the laughing and things like that. That's when it makes it all hit home how magical it is. So yeah, we had our first lad back in the April 2020. And then we had our second lad in the July this year. So he's just 22 weeks today. So about 2.5 years between them. So and now everything in life is geared up towards providing for them. Providing a lifestyle that my parents like gave me and my 3 brothers. So that's what I'm going to do for my family.
And it's learning to juggle that diary as well, so that you can make sure that you're at things like I've been to this afternoon. The nativities at school, etc. That come along very regularly at this time of year. But and also, I'll give you a little tip here as well. After 19 years of no sleep, I'm beginning to get some sleep now as well. So
so it does change.
It does change. It does come around. Now, tell me a little bit about Move, because you're also a very active member of Move. How did you first discover Move?
I was actually introduced to Mark by a lady called Nicola Webb, who owns a recruitment agency up on the Wirral here. I'd just gone self-employed, and my mentor said, right, well, to get clients, get out networking, basically. So first thing I did was I put my name down for a BNI group, but also I got introduced to Mark, who is, obviously the founder of Move. And from the first meeting I had with Mark, I knew he was a very inspirational character, and he shares quite a lot of the same values that I do. So we hit it off, our relationship from the start anyway. And I went on to my first Move Online session, which is the first ever bit of networking I'd ever done. And
Really?
I didn't even know it was a thing. And I quickly realized that, that it's, what Move's all about. It's all about business and personal development. And it's not about business referrals. It's not about that. It's about, surrounding yourself with a community of people who could enhance yourself, but also that you can provide value to as well by, and it's that, community spirit of, sharing problems that really drives everyone forward. So I think for the first year that I was in Move, because I joined in May last year, I think it was. So, for the first year, the amount of value I got from being a member of Move, from asking for advice, whether it be from the social media side of things, from whether it's, automating my processes, systems, everything like that, from people who've been in my shoes, or, people that are, experts in their own professions, it's invaluable. And, and if people go to us, yeah, but do you get any business from it? And I go, well, I have actually got business from it as well, which is obviously, a nice thing anyway. But the amount of time that I'm saving now from learning things from other people in the group. So whether it be, Microsoft Forms that are now used to, send out to clients when I'm onboarding them, things like that, then the value is just, it's immeasurable, really.
Well, don't you think that on this subject of sort of like, referrals and finding new business, etc., that if you're within a group of people who know you and have learned who you are and trust you, etc., anyway, that's just going to happen organically anyway out of that. It's just everybody knows a group of people that you don't know. That's by association. That's just the way things are. And sometimes networking seems a bit forced, in that you get pushed into a space with a whole load of people you don't know, and the whole agenda is let's find this person more business. But in a way, that's not right, because in order for me to recommend you, for example, you to recommend me, you've got to know each other a little bit first. You've got to have that relationship first. So,
Absolutely.
To expect it after like 2 minutes shouldn't work.
And that's it. Yeah, and that's it. And I quickly realised from the first couple of Move meetings that I went to, it was a case of, well, I don't think I'm going to ever get any business from this, But I realised that it's, I know Move's motto is making better humans, but just networking in general. It's just generally building relationships and being a nice human being, And if you've got other people's interests at your heart, or if and if you're willing to to always be on the lookout to help other people, then ultimately that will get reciprocated back to yourself anyway. And you've together as a team, you're always stronger than an individual.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice way to go. So you've been involved in, as you say, Move Online. You also go networking? How do you find that, getting up early on a weekend to go for a walk?
Well, you know what? I've always been an early bird anyway. So from the age of 12, I had a paper round. So that was every day apart from Christmas Day. So yeah, it's been embedded in me that, you know, your early starts. But obviously over the last 2.5 years, you know, sometimes I have needed a bit more of a lie-in, should we say? You know, once you know, when you're doing night feeds and things like that. But I'm still always generally up around about 5:30, 6 o'clock anyway. So yeah, I'm quite an active person. I have my health insurance through Vitality, which, you know, they encourage active living and healthy lifestyle. So move networking as a result. Just, you know, it's a great way for me to get out, to meet new people, to get my daily steps in anyway. And yeah, it's, you know, it doesn't really, I enjoy it. You know, it doesn't, you know, some people go, oh, you're mad, 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning. It's like, well, no, it's, you know, at that time, what else? When your competition or when other people are lying in bed, you know, probably suffering a hangover, which I might be on Friday after the move social tomorrow night. But, you know, it's all about balance in life. And ultimately, if, you know, if you on a Sunday morning, you can't ever make a Sunday morning because you are, you know, or Saturday morning for that matter of fact, because you've been out too late the night before and you know, and you're struggling to get up, then you're not the type of people we really want there anyway.
Yeah, I've said to Mark that actually I think for a lot of people, the fact that if you're a business owner or you're running your own ship, if you like, that actually you don't switch off easily anyway. And actually, I think for a lot of people, it's nice because they go early on the weekend. They actually have those conversations with people about business, but about everything else as well. And almost, I think when they then come back to their family, they find it easier to switch off because they've kind of had those conversations and got it off their chest.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've never actually thought about it that way, to be honest, but it's something that, you know, I can definitely resonate with, because as soon as I get back from networking, it's a case of, right, rest of the day's family day, you know, what are we going to do kind of thing. So yeah, no, I can definitely get on board with that.
There you go. So thanks so much for coming and talking to Move TV today.
No, thank you for having me.
Any other sort of ambitions going into 2023 or things that you want to achieve in 2023 that maybe not even to do with the business that you haven't told anyone yet?
I've got aspirations to do some charity work. You know, I would like to do a bit of charity work, you know, and provide back to others from that side of things who are less fortunate. Whether that entails, you know, a walking marathon or an Ironman or something like that. I do want to have a physical goal orientated charity task at some point. But ultimately, you know, for myself, from a business and a personal point of view, as you said, you know, when you become, you know, a business owner and you go self-employed, you know, it's very much, you don't switch off. So my goal for the next, 12 months will be to keep on onboarding clients, you know, finding people that I can help, getting fulfillment from that side of things, and then ultimately just carry on growing, both, you know, business wise and personally. You know, hopefully if I can get a chance to get another one of my chartered exams under my belt, that'll be nice. But you know, I have put a lot of effort into the last 12 months, so I'm looking forward to going away. Got 2 weeks booked in Lanzarote.
Oh, very nice.
New Year's Eve we fly out, so that'll be nice with the 4 of us going. So I'm certainly looking forward to that. But yeah, it's a case of, you know, if I can replicate the same as what I've done this year, next year, then I'll be a happy man.
Oh, well, you go to Lanzarote and enjoy yourself, Chris. But don't forget, you know, the cooking. You know, maybe a cookathon. There you go. Yeah. Chartered cooking with Chris.
Chartered bookkeeper. I was trying to think how I could incorporate some elements of personal financial planning.
Well, I think you can, because you can do, a bit like Jamie, you can do sort of meals around a budget, can't you?
Yeah, budget meals. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's certainly some. I do have huge admiration for the way your disruptive mind works, and how you always think completely different to my line of thinking. It always gets me, my brain going.
Thinking of something else.
Kudos to yourself, Graham, because it always is inspiring.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you again today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for appearing on Move TV.
Cheers,
thanks for watching. And if you've been watching and you want to, touch base with Chris, please do. He's on all of the social media platforms, particularly here on LinkedIn. So do connect with him, have a chat. If you've been thinking about your finances this year and it's all up in the air, why not sort it out this side of Christmas? Bye for now, Chris.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.